Hello, friends.
Hello.
Welcome to Achieving Wellness. Happy Wednesday to everybody. This is my friend, Purple Elephant, aka Deb H. We're happy that you're here, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Tonight we're going to be talking about communication. And when I was thinking about doing this show, no better person in my mind than Deb. Deb does these amazing, I want to call them conversations with yourself, these storytelling things that you're doing on your channel, which are lovely. You have such a way of expressing yourself that I only wish that I had. I get all like starstruck and stuttered and start looking all around, you know what I mean? But you do it in such a way that I feel like you're talking right to me. You know what I mean?
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah. That's how I'm hoping it's coming across. Yeah. I'm sitting at my table. When I was a kid growing up, whenever we went to any grandmother's house, and I had 4, anytime we were at a grandmother's house, we were at the table. That's where the family conversations took place. And so that's kind of where I start at the table.
I love that. I mean, all good things happen at the kitchen table.
Yes. Yes.
So we have a couple of people in chat. Thanks everyone for being here. Cardamancy Mesquite's in the house. Gertrude is here. Pierre White's here. Sharon Sipe is here. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We're just going to have a conversation. Of course, you know I've done my homework. Please remember that we are not therapists. We are not doctors. This is just a conversation about how we can communicate with each other, how to be effective in our communication skills and our abilities. And let's hope that that you guys gain something from this, because I think from my personal experience, being diagnosed with anxiety panic disorder, when I was trying to express to my friends, my family, you know, other people, my coworkers, etc., you know, what I was experiencing or what was happening or why I didn't maybe catch on to something that they were talking about or whatever the case may be, I found it most difficult because I literally felt like I was standing alone, screaming to the top of my lungs, and no one was hearing what I was saying. So this topic is very important to me. So feel free to share, to interact, ask a question, and we'll do our best to answer if we can. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up because it's always important. And Deb's link is in the description box below the video. Please do go show my friend some love. She is wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, of course, my friend. Always. Always. All right. Let's pull up my little sticky note. I want to say that this is for entertainment purposes only. So keep that in mind, friends. I think a great place to start. What is communication? Seems like a good place to start, no?
That is a good place to start.
Why, thank you. I appreciate you, Deb. So communication is the act of giving, receiving, and sharing information. In other words, talking, writing, listening, reading. Good communicators listen carefully. They speak or write clearly. And this is an important one. Respect different opinions. Which, I have to be honest, I was surprised that was part of what is communication. I thought that would have been a part of it, but I'm happy to see that it is. Thank you, Anna Banana, for putting Deb's link in the chat. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you.
There are 4 types of communication. They are passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. And it's important to understand that those different types of communications are out there when you are trying to communicate a message to someone, right? Or when you're trying to be heard. So, maybe you go and you ask your boss for a raise, or you ask your friend to collaborate with you, right? You're in a chat and you're trying to share a message with someone. Hi, Gerald.
Congratulations, Gerald.
I was just going to say, congratulations, Gerald. Yay. Everybody show our friend Tarot Stash some love.
He's a newlywed.
And he's hanging out with us.
Yes.
Isn't he sweet?
Yes.
So let's, I thought maybe what we could do is give a couple of examples, Deb, if you don't mind, like a passive aggressive kind of, conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Oh, so sweet. Everyone's sharing all the love in the chat. I love it.
Aww.
So actually, okay, before we do that, let's also incorporate. So this is interesting to me. Now, when I was doing my little research that I do all the time, it's these things that I find most interesting, because it's things that we already know in most cases, more often than not, but things that we have forgotten. It's like driving. If double touch wood, this doesn't happen to anyone, but if you got a letter in the mail that said you had to retake your test, I know I would be like, uh-oh, I need to brush up, you know what I mean? To make sure that I'm doing it right, even though I think I'm a great driver and I've had my license for eons. I think communication falls into that category, because we think we know, but you get used to talking a certain way to certain people, and you start to form habits, we'll call them. What do you think?
I was going to say get lazy, but
yeah,
it's the same thing.
Absolutely. Hi, Marie. So there are 5 types of communication. There are verbal communications, which is what I'm doing a whole lot of. There is nonverbal communication,
which is what I'm doing.
Yes. She's staring me down through the screen. No, I'm kidding. There is written communication, yes, which Deb and I have shared prior to coming live, that is what Deb did prior to her storytelling.
Because I wrote stories, yes.
And then there's visual communication. And we were talking about that backstage. And so I'd love it, Deb, if you could share what you shared with me about the writing for you, what it did for you when you would write, what you thought it was specifically.
When I was writing, I had to be observant, because I wrote characters. I had to observe people, what were their habits, gestures, all of that kind of thing, because you need something for your character to be memorable. They need a tagline. Do they wear a hat? Do they always rub their nose? So there needs to be something for you to grab onto, so you recognize that character every time they come up.
I love that. And I think that's, I mean, first of all, that's just really cool, but it's so interesting, and it makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. You think of a book that you've picked up and you read it, and how well you identify with the characters, I believe, is the way that it's explained in the written form. In other words, the more details that they give you, the better off you can actually imagine yourself in that moment, in that space, right?
Yes.
Which is beautiful, because it is very transformative, I think, right? Mm-hmm. The details that are provided in the written word. Not to mention, friends, I love me the smell of a book. And I know Gerald probably will agree with that, but I just love the smell of a good book. I can't do the Kinder thing. The reading online. I can't do that. I need a book.
I do too.
Yeah. So The nonverbal communication I want to talk about for a second, because I think that a lot of people, even, and I'm not sure that we it's not that we've forgotten, but there's a lot of things that we do that we don't realize that we do them. And over this past couple of years where a lot of us had to wear a mask, right? It was sort of brought to our attention again that we could facially communicate with people, like with our eyes, instead of our smile, which is what most people would think is the way that you would communicate if you were in a room and you were trying to, like, gesture to a person without actually being verbal, right?
Right.
There is a really, I think it's a very innocent, but also very connecting element to looking at someone with your eyes and sort of conveying a message. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I mean, there is the bedroom eyes, right? There's the mean eyes, right?
Well, and then if you ever run across someone face to face that truly has nothing behind their eyes,
right?
There is no emotion, then you realize how much we do say with our expressions and with our eyes. Someone like that can smile and there won't be anything there behind their eyes.
Yeah.
It'll be like, I keep hearing Jaws, that a shark has dead eyes, eyes like a doll. So that having that exchange is just as important as a spoken word.
100%. Gerald says the eyes are the gateway to the soul.
Absolutely.
And then he says there are Betty Davis eyes too.
Yes.
When you look across the room and you just sort of navigate towards someone, or gravitate, whatever word you want to use, and your eyes sort of meet, it doesn't have to be like a sexual thing. It's just someone that you are attracted to, and you are communicating a message as soon as you sort of put them within your shot. You know what I mean? I love it.
I have experienced looking at somebody, looking up, and somebody be standing there and looking into their eyes, and there be like a spark.
Yes.
An instant chemical kind of reaction.
Yeah. And it makes you feel so good. It's such an amazing thing, really, when you think about it. Having to wear masks with COVID, I realized how much eyes do smile. That's lovely, Gertrude. Hi, Heather. All right. So
it is scary, Heather, when you don't see anything in someone's eyes. It is scary.
Yeah. You mentioned before about the dolls, and like literally that's what I think of. Those, I don't like those freaky dolls, those old dolls with the roller eyes in them.
Yes.
We won't talk about that. So let's give a couple of examples of, different types of communication and in terms of like the aggressive, the passive aggressive. This is a personal pet peeve of mine. And since we're talking about it, I'm going to go with it. Okay. So the people, and gosh, I hope you're none of those people in the chat. And if you are, I apologize in advance. The people that go on Facebook, for example, and say, I've had the worst day ever. And then there's like 28 comments after that saying, oh my gosh, are you okay? What's wrong? What happened? That it's almost like that ... to be continued. It's like a cliffhanger of sorts, right?
It's a fishing comment.
Yeah, I feel that is what I call a gotcha communication, right? That is someone who feels like they need to keep you hanging to sort of get your attention.
Yes.
And unless you're TMZ, I don't really see the point. But there are people that and I don't know. What do you think, Deb? Do you think it's a fear of sharing, or do you think that it's a need for attention?
I feel like it's a need for attention, and that it's a trap. And I feel like a fly. If I answer that, you caught me in your web.
Yes. 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 Yeah,
And
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at my cat who is spinning circles over here on the bed for the last 5 minutes. Have you all seen Austin just like spinning around?
Mine just jumped in front of the camera. I guess he wanted to have his close up, Mr. DeMille.
There's nothing wrong with that. Hi, kitty. I think a really good example to use for this is when you're at work and you might need to ask for a day off for a personal reason, or you might need or feel like you deserve a raise, and so you're going into the boss or the manager or the supervisor or whatever, and you're like, hi. So, Deb's my boss, and I'm going to say to her, I've been working here 3 years and I've done a really good job, and I've never taken a day off, and I've only ever taken my scheduled vacation, and blah, blah, blah. And I just keep listing all of what I think are my attributes as to why I think that I should be rewarded or awarded with a raise. So what type of conversation is that? Is that passive? Is that aggressive? Is that assertive, or is it passive aggressive?
I feel like it's a little bit passive aggressive, and it's a little bit aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
And your listener, your boss, then me, I'm having a passive conversation because it's not a back and forth.
Right. And you weren't disputing anything that I was saying. You were just, you were.
I may object to the way you presented it, but I'm not necessarily going to tell you that you don't deserve it.
Absolutely. Which is, that's perfect, right? So that's one of those things where, you're having a conversation, and in some cases, you may be nervous, and you may feel that you're not able to express yourself. Maybe you've rehearsed the speech in your head kind of idea, or you've written it down on a note, or, all the way into the office, you're like, I can do this. And so when given the opportunity to open up, you just kind of go, bleh, you know what I mean?
Right.
But how it's received is the next part that we're going to discuss, because how it's received is equally as important, in some cases more so, than how it is presented.
Yeah. Right? Or even what you said.
Yes, 100%. So how important is communication in our daily life?
It's very important.
It's everything, right?
It is.
So in our daily life, communication helps us build relationships.
Yes.
By allowing us to share our experiences. It allows us to express our needs. It helps us to make connections with other people. Really, it is the essential part of life. And I'm not reading that because Anna just wrote it. That's what's in my notes. So good job, Anna. Allowing us to express our feelings.
Yes.
To articulate and express our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts at a particular situation or issue, right?
Yes.
And I think that the most important part of all of that is passing on information, in any form that takes. When the babysitter comes into the house for the first time and you say the emergency numbers are on the fridge, when you kiss your mom goodnight, or your partner and say I love you, or when you pet your fur baby and say to them, mommy loves you, or whatever.
Yes.
Passing on that information in whatever form it takes, I think
Yes.
is the most valuable part of communication. That's my opinion.
So I wanted to add to your how it's received. There are certain cues you can pick up on to see how is your information being received. Is your listener moving in closer to hear?
Yeah.
Did they back away and cross their legs?
Oh yeah, body language is so important when in communication.
Are they filling up their space? Are they comfortable?
Are their arms crossed like that?
Yes, arms crossed, or I'm hard of hearing, so you may see me lean in, even on camera. I may lean in.
Right.
And I'm going to watch your lips because I may not hear what you said, but I may see it.
Right.
And I also listen. If you're being an active listener, you listen with your whole body.
Yes.
So you don't, you listen to the tone, you listen to the emotion. If you're like us, you may pick up what's going on behind the words.
Right.
Right. So
it's kind of fun. Let's be honest. That's a little bit of fun.
It is. When your friends are psychics.
Yes. Right.
So the exchange happens not just with words. And that's why communication, I think, like we're doing, has been so important in the time we live in, because we're no longer limited to just listening on the phone or writing emails or writing letters. We can interact with each other in an almost in-person way.
100%. I think, and again, I'm going to go to the eyes because I think for me, apparently I'm all about the eyes, friends. Who knew? I get really like disengaged if I am talking to someone and they're not looking me in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tendency to sort of like back up a little bit and almost stop. The eyes seem to have it for me, friends. Lauren is in the house. Thank you, Lauren, for being here. Joan B is here. Marie Henson is here. I'm not sure if I said hello to everybody. I apologize if I missed you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So now we move to this fascinating little fact that I didn't actually know about, which is the 7 C's of communication. Who knew, friends? So it's a list of principles, and they all start with the letter C. I'm wondering if I should ask I would like to know what you guys think might be some one or two or all of the 7 C's without looking it up, of course. Hi, Sharon Sight. So 1 is courteous. I'm not trying to keep you in suspense. I'm trying to see if anyone will participate and say what they think. I don't want to give them all away. So 1 is courteous. Another one is concrete. Another one is, oh, really, Marie? That's so interesting. Marie says some people don't like it when you look them in the eye when you talk to them. That's what, really?
That, I think, is very often a cultural thing, but it can be something like a person having autism is uncomfortable with eye contact. So it's good to assess the situation.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's really interesting, Marie. Thank you for sharing that. Heather says healthy relationships and interpersonal effectiveness are great DBT groups to take. Absolutely. DBT being Developmental behavioral therapy, I believe, is what that is. Linda, hello, my friend. Thank you for being here. Linda has said, I'm losing all my thoughts here. Concise. That is one of them. Good job. Indigo says, yes, cultural and also environmental.
Yes.
Anna says, sometimes it is seen as being confrontational and disrespectful. Interesting.
That's, yes, cultural, usually.
That is really interesting. Well, I guess I'll have to work on that, won't I, friends? So we have concise that Linda contributed, courteous, concrete, clear, correct, which I just think is funny. Let's say that one more time, just because, correct, and considered. So clear, correct, complete, concrete, concise, considered, and courteous. Those are the 7 C's of communication. And you can all relax. There's no test, I promise. I just think that's really interesting because I guess I just never thought of it, to be perfectly honest. So, you learn something every day, friends. Now, here is the fun bit about communication to me. It is the understanding that hearing and listening are 2 different things, and that without the hearing and the listening combined, really your communication is out the window.
Yes.
You sort of like giving it up before you've even started. Hi, Teresa. Welcome, my friend. So let's talk about hearing and listening, Deb.
And I wanted to just quickly interject because there are people who can't hear.
Yes.
So, but they can still listen.
100%.
And they hear and listen in a different way. And theirs is more body. They can absolutely still hear and listen, just not in a physical way.
Absolutely. And to that point, that if you are speaking to someone who is vision impaired or who is hearing impaired or possibly both, there are ways that you can communicate your thoughts and your feelings or a situation or information to them where possibly sign language isn't involved. As Deb was showing us and illustrating to us before about being very detailed, can help them imagine their surroundings and understand where they are, if that makes sense. Or the if you were explaining a trip that you went on, right? The more details you give them allows them to be able to visualize that particular place. You can effectively communicate by drawing. Maybe you sketch out something so that they, if they're hearing impaired, for example, maybe they can see it. You can put a smile on your face. Working in the group home, this is something that we love to do, right? You can put a smile on your face and you can put their hands on your hands or allow them, give them permission to touch your face. And they start to move around your face and see that your eyes are smiling and that your mouth is in a smile, and understand that you are conveying a happy or sort of upbeat emotion, if you will. And I think that that's beautiful, right? Ron is in the house. Hi, Ron.
And many of you know my son is disabled. He's a quadriplegic. Now, he speaks. He doesn't see real well, but he speaks. And he had lots of kids of different abilities in his classes growing up. So he learned to read sign language. He can't do it, but he learned to read it.
Yeah.
And he learned ways to communicate with people that couldn't hear him.
Yeah. That's amazing. If you don't mind me asking and you don't mind sharing this detail, did he have use of a communication board or a light board?
He doesn't. Since he can speak he doesn't, in the United States, he doesn't qualify for one.
Gotcha.
So he doesn't qualify for that kind of durable medical equipment.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But he knows or has known individuals that used them.
Yeah.
In the past.
Yeah, the light boards were very effective in the group home that I worked in. In terms of because when you are, we're taking a small term, but it's important to the conversation. When you are labeled, and we don't like the word labels, but when you are labeled as someone who is nonverbal, it doesn't mean necessarily that you can't speak.
Right.
Right. And a lot of people may not understand that or just know that simple little fact. And so they may be able to, verbalize 2, 3, 4 words, but not necessarily be able to string a whole complete sentence together to express themselves. And so
or be able to carry on a conversation.
Right. So they may be labeled as nonverbal, even though they actually can speak.
Right. Right.
Or make audible sounds.
Yes.
We'll put it that way. So I want to say that in both of our instances, Deb with her son and myself with working in the group home and having so many years of experience working with people with developmental challenges, that is where I sort of relearned my hearing and my listening skills, which some people think that I don't, because I never shut up. But I do have the ability. I promise, friends. I really do. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for being here, everybody. So let's talk a little bit about hearing and listening. Okay. Hearing is receiving sound waves through your ears, and listening means hearing and understanding what you've heard.
Yes.
So how do we understand? How do you convey to me, Deb, that you've understood what I've said to you?
What I do generally is ask a question. So I will call back to something that you've said. I will call back to something that you've said during our conversation. Where I probably already asked you a leading question and then let you express yourself. And then I will pick out something that you said and ask another question.
Perfect. She's so awesome, is she not, my friends? Hi, Kiba. Hi, Joan. If I didn't say hi to you already, I just love you, Deb. I just think, honestly, it was like I watched a show. I was watching something that you did, and I was like, communication, Deb, and boom. So I'm so happy that you're here. I digress. I'm all over the place. I apologize. I really can listen and hear. That's an example of hearing but not listening. If y'all caught what I just did there, right? So hearing using your ears only, while listening is using your body's other senses, as Deb spoke to us earlier. She mentioned that. And, like if someone says hello and you wave, believe it or not, that's hearing and listening, because you have now acknowledged to the person that said hello to you that you heard them loud and clear. You understood what they communicated to you.
Right. That's a response.
Right. Beautiful. Listening is observing another person's behavior that can add meaning to the message.
Yes.
Hearing is simply receiving the sound vibrations. So Deb says to me, we come backstage and she's like, I'm so happy to be here, Kelly. And I say, thank you so much. And then she extends her arms and goes to give me a virtual high five, or maybe she wants to give me a virtual hug. She has now conveyed to me her emotion through her body language, which has given me a signal that she understood my meaning. She understood the message that I communicated, and I think that's beautiful. Some people misunderstand and think that people are being like animated or theatrical when they do a lot of hand gestures, and that can get busy, right? It can be busy when you move around a lot, but you don't have to necessarily move around a lot to let someone know that you have heard what they've said. It could be a gesture where someone's telling you something, and you sort of sit back in your chair and be like, you move in a little bit closer, as you mentioned before, right? So that so they know you're intently listening word for word.
Yes.
For example, right? Do you have anything else to add? Sorry, I jumped in.
I was just going to add that some of us listen on a deeper level too, and I may not have said anything, but you might think I said something because of what was going on in here. So that's part of listening with your whole being.
Yes. Yes, and that's a very good point that you mentioned, Deb. Because have you ever been in a conversation with someone, like say you're standing, maybe you've gone to a backyard barbecue, for example, and you're standing there talking to someone, and they start like sort of shifting their weight back and forth on their feet, right? So they're like hearing you, but in their head, they're already like over there talking to that person. Or their stomach's growling because, they can smell the barbecue, and they're thinking in their head, like, when is this food going to be ready? I'm starving.
Right. They've already left the conversation.
Absolutely. Hi, Andrea. Hi, JL. Good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. We're talking about communication. So, hi. Nuts as a fruitcake.
I wanted to tell you, JL Vader is one of my Facebook friends that I have known for some years.
Oh, very nice.
I'm really happy to see her here.
Well, we are appreciative that you are here. Thank you very much for being here. Joan says, I use my hands a lot when I get really into what I'm saying.
Yes.
I use my hands all the time. Anyone who watches my videos knows that I do. And I want to say that I think, and I'm not, giving myself an excuse. Honestly, I'm not, friends. It's a lot of what I do, and a lot of the way that I communicate is because of working in the group home. Everyone that I worked with was nonverbal. No one knew sign language. No one understood sign language. And so we would go throughout our day oftentimes verbalizing everything that we did.
Right.
To not create noise, but to create a level of sort of oneness and inclusion.
And continuity.
Yeah. And to be consistent with them, making them feel like they were a part of what was happening rather than just part of the surrounding. You know what I mean? And so that became something that I really had to work on, because it wasn't my normal experience to walk into a room and say, okay, so now we're going to, and like literally say everything I was doing out loud before I did it or as I was doing it. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes I have to remember that I'm not there anymore, but it is an old habit. I have to be honest.
That's respectful, and it's preserving dignity at the same time. I wanted to share that when my son was small, and he lives in a group home like you're talking about, you worked in, he lives in one now with 5 other adults of different abilities, but 4 of them use power wheelchairs,
right?
Like he does. When he was small, there was a boy in school named Trey, and he never spoke. He never acted like he understood anything. He was just kind of, he had a flat affect all the time. And one day I said something to him or about him, and the aide said to me, "Oh, Trey knows what's going on. He understands everything that's going on." One day, about 2 years ago, Trey decided he was not going to participate anymore. So up until that time, he had been an active participant in the class, and he spoke, and he obviously knew everything that was going on. But one day he just decided to check out.
Right.
They still treated him like he was an active participant in the class.
Yeah.
Because they knew he was in there. They didn't know what it was going to take to bring him back out, but they knew he was still in there.
I have to say is, honestly, it makes me want to cry because I have experienced so many of those moments, which I feel completely blessed to experience those moments. And since you shared that lovely story, I want to share a story similar to that, in line with what we're talking about. So we had a client in the house, and she was in a wheelchair. She was nonverbal. She had a horrible, debilitating medical situation on top of her developmental challenges, and she was basically sent to our house to carry out the rest of her time. Mm. And her body was contracted and shaped like an S, so there was very little movement. She could move her head about 40 or 50 degrees, from one side to the other. And she had about 30% range of motion of her right arm. And one day it was really, really cold. And so we kept her home from the program that they would all go to, the life skills program.
Day program, yes.
And we were having a staff meeting. And so she was there. So she was beside us, and she was part of the meeting. And we were talking about what we were going to do for Christmas.
Oh, no.
How we were going to handle Christmas at the house, like staffing, food. Are we going to invite, people, friends, parents of the clients? Like, how are we going to do Christmas? And someone mentioned something. And all of a sudden, she just sort of let out this holler. And she was like, "Ma!" And we were like, "Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that you," because in that moment, we were as if she wasn't there.
Yes.
Like, "Hello, I want to be a part of this conversation. Why don't you ask me what I want you to do for Christmas?" And it was, "Thank you for the reminder." And so that's one of those beautiful moments where you realize that even though someone may not be speaking or communicating in a way that they are used to or able to, that they are still able to hear what you said, and they still want you to understand their thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
Right? I love it. I could tell those stories all day long because it just fills me with so much. You know what? Anyways, I digress. Sorry, friends. Amanda says, "I have a good new friend with some learning disabilities, learning a lot from him." That's beautiful.
They have so much to teach.
My friend, is that not the truest statement ever? We used to say all the time, and I don't know why this is making me so emotional, but if you have never had a best friend, a good friend, an authentic friend, that if you were to take yourself to a group home sort of situation, you will be enlightened in a way that you've never experienced before.
Absolutely. And they really are adults. Even if they're developmentally challenged to the point that they're diagnosed as having a 6th grade or a 6-year-old understanding, this is still an adult person.
Yes.
With dignity, and they should be treated that way.
Yeah. I have an aunt who was born Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. My Auntie Carol. And she was a very, very best person that I ever knew. And I grew up with her. The first 5 years of my life I spent at my grandmother's house. My grandmother babysat me. My Auntie Carol was there, home, right, with me. I grew up, she's just my Aunt Carol.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And she influenced my career. She influenced my education, my career. And when I got married the first time, I asked her to be one of my bridesmaids because she's my aunt and I love her. And people in my own family were like, "Are you sure?"
I totally get that.
No, I know you do. I know you do.
When I, for some reason, attracted people who were different when I was growing up. So the people that I ran with were the outsiders
Right.
of the school, whatever it was. And even I can remember it even being as a small child in grade school. And it used to really hurt me to see how people who are different were treated just out of insensitivity or ignorance or selfishness, whatever the reason was. It was just so uncalled for.
Yeah.
You really do need to meet people where they are.
Yes, Deb. Excellent, excellent point. I want to add to that, to pick this up, because I didn't want to bring this down, but to pick it up. Like I said, I had many years working with, people of all ages that were under that umbrella, and had the greatest experience of working at day camp. And I was what they called a one-to-one leader. So I was singularly working with a person who was then integrated into a group of 30 or 25 other children. And that group had their own leader, but I was specifically for the one person. And I'm telling you, it was amazing. Not one day went by when I was that one-to-one leader with the different children throughout the course of the summer, when some little person with their big bright eyes and their complete sense of innocence would walk up and say, like, "How come you're in a wheelchair?" Or, how come you're not running with us? Or, how come you use a book to communicate, different things. And it was just, they weren't afraid to ask. They weren't afraid of the person. They weren't afraid because they were different. They wanted to understand. They wanted to befriend them and make them feel included. And it was such an amazing thing as a young person to witness not only the interaction between the two individuals, sort of trying to bridge that gap of understanding, but it was also interesting to see that one person that would take the lead in that, and then watch all the other people sort of follow suit thereafter, understanding that it was amazing. Do you know what I mean? It was just
I do.
to witness. I love it. Andrea says, one of my students had Down syndrome. One day he dropped the veil and said, "Andrea, do you see me?" Honest to God, he dropped the veil. He said, "Do you really see me?" Yeah.
Yes. And I've heard her tell this story before, and that it's a profound moment because you realize that they really are a whole soul. That whatever challenge they've chosen to take on this plane, across the veil, they are a whole soul.
Yep, they absolutely are. And you know what, friends? I mean, between us, sometimes as individuals, we get busy and we forget. And every once in a while, I think that we need to be schooled a little bit and brought back down to the reality of the situation, if you understand what I mean, right?
Yes.
In terms of, being present in that moment. Because when you meet someone, anyone, doesn't matter who it is, and you give them your time, you literally don't know whether it's going to be a connection that you've made for the rest of, that will continue for the rest of your life, or it'll be over in an hour or 5 minutes. And so why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you give that person your heart and your eyes and your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you? But sometimes we get so busy that we just don't have time. That's what we think.
Yes. So that goes so perfectly to what we're talking about, to communication, because that is everything that a person with a challenge does, they do in the present. They do now. And so the communication has to be in the now.
Yeah. Andrea said then he raised the veil and said pizza at his normal conversations.
Yes.
This is lovely. This has been so good. Not that it's over. I'm just saying this has been lovely. So, this is why I love Deb and what Deb does.
Well, we can go deep.
Absolutely.
We can giggle, but we can go deep too.
Absolutely. Andrea says he had the twinkle in his eyes. Like, that was pretty cool, Andrea. Amanda says that I know my time with Mike has been greatly appreciated, and he won't let me forget.
Yes.
It is an amazing connection if y'all ever have the chance. I mean, I can tell you a story, friends. Since I keep talking about stories, and I don't want to get too sidetracked, because we have one more important bit to cover. Well, I think it's important, but I do have a funny story. So part of the responsibilities of working in the group home was to do the grocery shopping for the group home.
Right.
And we would take turns every week taking one or two with us. It's not a lot of fun. Just going to say that out loud right off the top. It's not a lot of fun. It's a lot, for a 25-year-old. Anyway, so there I am taking one of the residents with me to grocery shop in my car, in my own personal vehicle. Now, she is actually the person that I am responsible for in the home. I do all of her financials. I do all of her doctor stuff. Like, she's my client. I don't like using that word, but that's what we did. So yes, let's go to the store. This is going to be great. Well, literally, we're like 3 minutes from the grocery store. Well, once you get in, we don't want to get out, is now what's happening. So we are standing now outside of the vehicle. I am. She is in the back seat of the vehicle, and she is screaming to the top of her lungs, "Don't touch me!"
Of course.
And I'm like this, right? Because anyone that's watching is like gonna be calling the police on me. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say her name, right? But I'm like, come on, like, Kelly's trying to assist. Let's go to the grocery store. You said you wanted to go to the grocery store, right? Friends, we were having it must have turned into like a 20-minute, like hostage negotiation situation that I was doing in the parking lot. And the whole time I'm thinking in my head, like all the things that I learned in school, in every situation that I've ever been in. Like, you fail me at this moment because none of you are helping. Like, none of the stuff, the books were helping.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I finally just was like, okay, fine. And I got back into the car and I sat there and I just sat quiet. And then she, after about 15 minutes, sort of reached over and touched my shoulder. And I looked back and she smiled and I was like, are you ready to go now? And she's like,
she just had a panic moment.
She wasn't ready. She was enjoying being out and she didn't want to like sort of jump into the store and all of the commotion right away. And I missed it because I was trying to stay on my schedule. Right. So to my point before, I wasn't paying attention to what she was putting out. I wasn't picking it up. I was hearing her. I wasn't like absorbing it. And I was just like trying to tick off all my things to do. Right. That's
you
what I
missed the cues.
I did. Yeah. I totally did. But she taught me real quick and I was like, okay. So that's just my little funny story about that. So the next thing I want to talk about is, what can we do to help us in terms of increasing our ability to communicate? So obviously all of the different things that we have talked about already tonight, right? Being present, being clear, details, body language, all of those things are really important, the hearing, the listening. But there's something else that we can do. I just sort of feel like this is a secret, which is weird. It's not a secret. Lots of people know about it, but not everyone knows about it. And not everyone understands that this is like an extra. You know what I mean? Your throat chakra. Your throat chakra is how you communicate. Oh, hi, sweetheart.
Monkey, he thinks he has to be part.
Well, of course.
So you got both of them tonight. My cat usually doesn't make an appearance, but he did tonight.
Well, because they're trying to communicate. Like, hello, we're here.
Yes.
Hi, baby. You are so adorable.
Thank you. That's Monkey. Because he climbs.
So sweet. So our throat chakra, friends.
Yes.
External situations like stress, self-destructive behavior can create a chakra imbalance.
Yes.
The throat chakra is blue. And literally, if we just think of things that are blue, if we surround ourselves, hello, look at my room. Could I get any more blue stuff in here? Right? If we bring blue in around us, it can help to lift and open and rebalance that throat chakra, which is amazing to me.
Yes.
Meditation will help. Neck stretches will help. The chakra stones will help. Great chakra stones for the throat chakra are. Got anything, Deb? I'm not a
I'm trying to think of blue stones.
So lapis lazuli.
Lapis, that's the one I thought.
I have
labradorite. Is labradorite blue or purple?
It's sort of bluey purple. I'm just gonna stick a couple of these cards up for you all to see here, right? Now that one with the breath coming out of the mouth, right? Like that is your expression, and I love that, right? Like yes. That's your power, right? The key, unlocking that, allowing yourself to release. Really, those cards say truth, transparency, sincerity, communication, self-expression, sharing, connection, and exchange. And I love that. Another blue stone that you can use is, I had them all, I had them all out, friends. Yes. Okay. Well, look at Amanda. Amanda's going on. She's got lapis, aquamarine, turquoise. Excellent. I have this beautiful lapis lazuli here, or I think this is blue lace agate. I'm not sure.
Pretty.
Yeah, it's just a little wee stone, but I love it. So, you know, I was told by someone who I consider very well versed in chakras, and that was Adrienne from Red Lentil Healing when she came here to discuss chakras with us almost a year ago, that to sing, so turning on the music and allowing yourself just to sing it out loud like no one's listening, friends, will actually help to open up that throat chakra and allow you to also, work on the hearing and the listening skills. Is something that we can all do for ourselves. And the last point I'm going to leave to my friend Deb, in something that Deborah used to do. And I want you, I know we talked about it in the beginning, but I really want you to make that point and drive that one home again, because I think I know it helped me in terms of the writing is where I was going with that. The ability that Deb has to effectively communicate in her storytelling that she does on her channel is amazing. And I was so thrilled when she told me backstage that it started in a writing capacity. And so I just sort of want you to say that part again, because I think it's a great way. I know it helped me, like journaling helped me immensely, because I didn't feel like I was able to verbally express myself, because I didn't feel like I was being heard. So I took to writing it out, because then I was having a conversation with myself.
Yes.
Right.
So I started telling stories by writing. I wrote stories for a long time. And at one time, I had aspirations to write children's books. And things happen, and that never happened. But I took that with me. And I learned through what I learned to do for writing stories, I now apply, without even thinking about it, to telling stories. So all of the steps, it needs to have a beginning, middle, end. It needs to progress. You need to have callbacks to whatever you're talking about, so that you can make sure that the message gets heard. Repeat things 3 times. All of those little tricks that you learn in writing class, I use in my storytelling. It's like a dance. So if you can master the dance, then you can do it anywhere to any kind of music.
I love that. That was so good.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
And I want to just add that it's different to do that than it is to do what we're doing here, which is to speak, to have a conversation. A conversation should be an exchange. You don't, in a productive conversation, just listen to respond.
Right.
You want to listen to understand.
Yes.
You want to hear what the other person's saying, but also to understand the nuance behind whatever they're saying.
Yeah. I sort of feel, and I don't know if I can articulate this, I like to listen to people that move me. When I feel like I'm in the space for that, I want to listen to people that are going to move me. They're going to give me something in a way that perhaps maybe I've heard it 100 times, but I feel like I've just heard it for the first time. You have that ability, my friend, when you talk.
Thank you.
And I'm not trying to blow sunshine up your skirt. I'm being truthful with you. I believe that you have that ability, that when you tell your stories, they move people. I mean, they move me. So
Well, I think that if we share our own experiences, that they can help someone else. And that's been my aim with my stories, is to reach whoever needs the encouragement, to know that they're not alone. Whatever their need is for coming to hear the story, I'm hoping that they can get that.
that is the purpose of my whole channel, my friend. So I completely concur, and I totally get it. I totally get it. Let's pull a card for the collective, even though we said we weren't going to do it. Deb got her cards out just before we started. I got cards out just before I started when Deb said, are we going to pull any cards?
I'm going to use a little deck that I got recently, called the Clarity Oracle. It's the Diana Bowles oil painter is the creator.
They're beautiful.
And so I'm going to pull a card from that deck.
I'm going to pull a card from Postcard from Spirit because, you know, it's all about the writing, friends. Andrea says it might be fun to get a writing group together and a practice writing and reading to the group. Yeah, that would be cool.
Be fun. I think it's a good way to learn to listen too.
Yes. I concur. Would you like to go first, my dear? Or do you want me to?
Certainly. I've got her number 6 card, which is tradition, but it's also like a remembrance of things. That's what we're doing. We share our experiences and we remember and we create new traditions, especially where the old traditions don't fit in anymore. We create something new, but we can always remember what went before.
Beautiful.
That helps us progress to where we need to go.
Right. My stomach is growling so loud, friends. I hope you can't hear it over the computer. I apologize. Good grief. So here is the postcard from Spirit. On the front side, we have this lovely cherub, if you can see that. It's hard to read or to sort of detect the image. Excuse me. Dearest you, sometimes it's wonderful to give, but there are times you might find yourself overgiving. Now might be a good time to check in and see where you might be cutting off the flow of abundance. Let others give to you, even if you are more comfortable being generous and being the giver, the healer, the rescuer. In the art of living, we sometimes overlook an important skill: receiving gracefully and with gratitude, without diminishing yourself or trying to deny vulnerability or bringing an agenda of equality to it. Receiving is hard for some people, maybe you. You do not need a this or that in your exchange with others. You are doing good in the world. Let the world give back and support you. Then you can give up the old stories that have you convinced you have to do everything alone with no help. Let your knew I was going to mess that up. Let your well be filled. We all love you so, so much. I loved how it had stories in there. I was like, that's totally cool.
Well, tradition does too.
Yes. That's really cool that we both pulled cards that spoke about sort of, letting the old go and or maybe bringing in the new to sort of, put a ... to maybe something that you already thought you understood or that you already knew. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? I love that.
We can always learn.
We always can, my friend. We always can. Thank you, everybody, for being here and being a part of this conversation. This has been so wonderful. I thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Everybody, please do go check out Purple Elephant-Deb H, my friend. Her description and link is in the box below the video. She's just wonderful. And we're also appreciative that you were here. So thank you so much, everybody. Please, what else? Oh, Deb. You said that Gerald's coming on with you in
November. On November the 10th. Before then, I'm going to be on, I just went blank. I'm going to be with Heather Indigo Jaguar next Wednesday, and I have another guest spot someplace that I can't remember right now.
It's all good. It's all good. I love it. On Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern.
It's on Saturday. I just remembered. It's with Gertrude. Gertrude, why didn't you say something? It's with Gertrude on her channel with Ivana Intuitive, and I'm going to be on their channel on Saturday evening.
Oh, nice. I look forward to that. That sounds like fun. Coming up here at Dozen Cats, 3 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. Thanks, Spirit. It's Friday. It's back, my friends. Bring your conga shoes. It's a good opportunity just to have some fun, let your hair down. It's never the same twice, I guarantee. Our guest this week is Johnny from Tarot's Apprentice, which I am thrilled about. And Saturday night, I will be with Ron Unconditional Love, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Ron's channel. On Sunday, for Sunday Connections at 3 p.m. Eastern, I have Nancy Jean from Nancy Jean's Garden coming, and we're doing some past life readings. So, hope everyone can hang out with us.
Your dance card is full.
And I love it, my friend. I love it. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We send you many, many blessings. Mwah!
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.